Is Florida being taken over by rich people? It sure seems that way. Stay tuned, I'm going to break down the data. Hi everybody, I'm Melanie Atkinson, Realtor with Compass in beautiful Tampa, Florida. And today we're going to talk about wealth migration and how Florida has been on the winning or losing side of it, depending on your point of view. I'm also going to go through the wealthiest zip codes in the Tampa Bay areas that I work in, so you know where that money is going. As always, please remember to like and subscribe if you find any value to this video. Every little bit helps. Housing affordability has been top of mind for a few years now, with increased home prices, interest rate hikes, high insurance costs, and property tax increases. I get asked all the time, how do people afford to move here? That question mostly comes from Florida residents that have been here for a long time. It's mind-boggling how much more expensive it is now than it was just a few years before. There is an answer to this question, and I see it every day selling real estate. That answer is wealth migration. If you've been living in Florida, say for the past decade, you remember what things cost 7 years ago. So it seems crazy how much more expensive things are now. But if you're a new resident who came from an expensive state like California, New York, or Illinois, and you have a high earning career, Florida still seems like a bargain. Let's talk about it. For most of Florida's history, it was known as an affordable, sunshiny place to retire or vacation. But since the end of the Great Recession, Florida has definitely been rebranding itself. It has actively sought to bring a greater variety and amount of business and industry to the state. That means more high-income professional opportunities for residents and people moving here. Plus, we have always had tax policies that attract people with money. Nobody wants to pay state income tax. You combine those two things, sprinkle in the COVID years that really put a spotlight on Florida, and you get a lot of wealthy people that want to be here. In fact, between 2021 and 2022, Florida was #1 in the country for incoming wealth migration and had a net gain of $35 billion in adjusted gross income. That is a lot of money to be injected into the economy of Florida, and that was just in 1 year. We already know that a lot of our wealth migration comes from retirees, and they have a lot of wealth to bring with them. Retirees will always be a big part of Florida's population. But what has been far more interesting to me to observe in the last 5 years is the increase in population of high wage earners, defined as those that are still in their working years and earning over $200,000 per year. This is exactly the population that Florida has been trying to attract. I will also give a lot of credit to the steep increase of remote workers, which allowed a lot of people to keep their jobs but live where they want to. Florida has benefited from them both. If you break the high wage earners down by age and look at just young professionals, ages 26 to 34 who make over $200,000 a year, Florida had a net increase of over 1,700 of them between 2021 and 22. Now that may not seem like a lot, but if you assume that most of them moved near our larger cities like Tampa, Miami, Orlando, and Jacksonville, then each of those cities would see an increase of hundreds of young, high-income earners in just 1 year. Further, if we look at ages 35 to 54, your typical prime earning years, Florida had a net increase of 10,600 high-income earners in that same year. Think of all of this as a cycle. The more high-income earners you have moving here, the more higher-end housing gets purchased or built. Cities start opening more luxury hotels and 5-star restaurants and designer shopping. We have examples of all of those things happening in the last 5 years here in the Tampa area, and there doesn't seem to be a slowdown in planned growth in the near future. In fact, there was just an announcement that the Waldorf Astoria is planning the tallest high-rise in downtown St. Pete that will be branded luxury condos. That will join the Ritz and the Edition and the Pendry, which have luxury branded condos in Tampa. At this point, developers are still convinced that wealth migration will continue in the Tampa Bay area, and they are planning for the housing and entertainment that this population will desire. Now, I fully realize that this is not good news for everybody. The sentiment I hear over and over is, I just want the Florida I used to love back. And as someone who has been here since 1980, I get it. There was a lot of quaintness here. It was more affordable. It was a retirement oasis for hardworking, middle-class retirees. I am so proud of Florida's roots. It's easy to look at all this wealth migration and development and see the things that we have lost. That is one side of the coin. The other side is the one that is excited about the growth, the new business, the redeveloped cities, the expanded roads. When you're only focused on one side of the coin, it's hard to see the other side. That's why the old residents look at everything and say, we want it back to how it was. Whereas the new residents, or the old ones that are high earners, look at the growth and think, yay, finally Florida is becoming the state we knew it could be. I see both sides of the coin because I have to. It's part of my job. I am both proud and sad about Florida's growth. I think every day about housing affordability issues, especially for people on a fixed income. But then I meet wonderful people who think Florida is tremendously affordable. I worry about the old Florida charm going away. And then I go to multiple small towns just north of here, and I realize that it still exists. I wonder how people are going to afford their first home. And then I go out with a first-time homebuyer to a new construction community that has reasonably priced houses, and they do. I worry about flood insurance, but I also know that there are tons of places that don't require it. I get sad about an old waterfront house coming down, but then I marvel at how much better a new construction house is built in order to withstand hurricanes. Florida absolutely has its issues currently and may have plenty more in the future. My job is to tell you guys what is happening now so you can make an educated decision on whether you want to move here. And for the time being, wealthy people are still moving here. And that's one of the reasons that housing prices have remained steady. There simply is a lot of people here that have the means to buy the nicest houses. Now, if you are one of the people moving here, I would encourage you, as a longtime Floridian, please be a citizen dedicated to growing and maintaining our beautiful state in a responsible way. One more thing before I go, since we are talking about wealth, I thought you guys would like to know what the wealthiest zip codes are in the area of Tampa Bay that I work in. This info was all taken from the Tampa Bay Business Journal, and I'm only going to focus in on Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Pasco counties because those are the three I primarily work in. We will throw a chart up here for you to pause on after I say goodbye, and thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your comments on this video, and if you'd like to watch anything else on my channel, please take a look at a video I recently did about the mid-year Florida housing market. Here's that chart. Thank you so much for watching.